Today on Sports Central, we go over a college football game preview and prediction on a big matchup coming up here in the SEC in Week 7 of this 2021 college football season. And it'll be over the Alabama Crimson Tide and the Mississippi State Bulldogs. Crucial matchup for each of these teams heading into Week 7. We'll be going over a full game preview and prediction on this matchup here today, starting out with your team trends. Alabama last week lost to Texas A&M on the road. 38-41 was the final score there. Obviously, just a tough loss for Alabama. I mean, losing to an unranked team for the first time. I mean, it's been a long time since Alabama's lost to an unranked team. So that was very unexpected. Not many people expected Texas A&M of all teams coming off of 2 straight losses to go out and beat Alabama, but they did. And the Crimson Tide are 5-1 heading into this matchup. And I mean, this is a crucial game for them. I mean, you got to bounce back, and you got a road matchup after a tough loss in the regular season. I mean, it'll be interesting to see how this Alabama team responds to that loss last week, but they are ranked 5th heading into this matchup. Mississippi State beat Texas A&M in their last matchup. They actually had a bye week last week, so they've got a little more time to prepare for this matchup. But previously, they beat Texas A&M. They were ranked 15th at the time that the Bulldogs beat them. 26-22 was the final score there. So kind of interesting how both teams played Texas A&M in their previous games, and both were on the road as well in the same place. So kind of an interesting stat line there. But of course, Mississippi State is 3-2 heading into this matchup, coming off of a 1-game winning streak once again against the Aggies. Game will be on Saturday, October 16th in Starkville, Mississippi. So the Bulldogs are your home team for the matchup, and it'll be at 6 p.m. Central Time. So we got a night game here in Starkville between Alabama and Mississippi State. Spread currently has Alabama by 17, so not too surprising seeing the Crimson Tide heavily favored here. Over-under is 57.5. FPI is going Alabama 82%. So Alabama once again is favored pretty significantly. Series history, Alabama leads at 83-18, not even close. Has been the series for this matchup. I mean, Alabama's won it, 83 times. That's a pretty impressive number. Win streak is Alabama by 13. I mean, Crimson Tide have won 13 straight games against the Bulldogs, and the last time Mississippi State won was 2007. So it's been 14 years, of course, since Mississippi State won this game. So, I mean, who knows? That streak could be broken in this matchup if Mississippi State puts up an incredible performance. Here's your stat comparison for this matchup. Alabama's got 44 points per game, 22 points allowed, 310 pass yards a game, 161 rush yards, and then for yards allowed, 195 passing, 109 for rushing. As for the Bulldogs, 27 points per game, 25 points allowed, 372 pass yards a game. This is a very heavy passing offense, 56 rush yards a game, and then for yards allowed, 229 passing, and then 89 rushing. So obviously, you have a very heavy passing offense here with Mississippi State with 372 pass yards a game versus 56, only 56 rush yards a game so far this season. And it's not going to be easy to pass against this Alabama defense. I mean, they're only allowing 195 pass yards per game so far this season, which if you can keep that number below 200, you're usually in a great position. So Alabama, of course, I mean, it's going to be tough to pass against this defense for Mississippi State, so they'll have to rush a little bit if they can, of course, to even have a chance in this game. Here are previous matchups for each of these teams as well. Alabama, of course, lost to Texas A&M there. Beat Ole Miss 42-21. That was a quality win without a doubt. Rebels are a very talented football team. Beat Southern Miss 63-14. Beat Florida 31-29. That was a close game there. Beat Mercer as well 48-14. So, I mean, this Alabama team has put up some quality wins. I mean, this team is for real. They just had a big slip-up last week in College Station. Mississippi State beat Texas A&M there 26-22. Lost to LSU 25-28. Lost to Memphis 29-31. So they were coming off of 2 straight losses there going into that Texas A&M game. And then, of course, you had a win against NC State there 24-10. Beat Louisiana Tech by 1, 35-34. So, I mean, Mississippi State, this is a solid football team as well. I mean, obviously they're not going to be one of the top teams in the SEC this season, but it certainly is a solid football team here that I could definitely see making a bowl game by the time we get to the postseason. Some key points here, of course, Alabama's 5-1. Could Alabama lose 2 games straight? I mean, we haven't seen, I can't even remember the last time Alabama's lost 2 straight regular season games. I mean, it's been a long time. I don't know if it was 2007 or way before, but it's been a while since Alabama has lost 2 straight regular season games. So it'll be interesting to see what happens here. I mean, with Nick Saban, I just don't think that Alabama, with Nick Saban as their head coach, is going to lose 2 straight games. I mean, that would be insane if they did. But, I mean, for them going on the road, it's going to be a challenge at first for Alabama, I do think. I mean, Mississippi State, it's going to be a night game. It's going to be loud, I'm sure. So, I mean, without a doubt, it's going to be a tough environment. But this Alabama team, they're going to need to show up. I mean, this is their second straight road game in 2 weeks. I mean, obviously, after a tough game last week against Texas A&M, it's an important game for the Crimson Tide here. Bryce Young, still one of the best quarterbacks nationwide, I do believe. I mean, he's been playing pretty outstanding so far this season. And, I mean, once again, Alabama, they're going to need to start better this time around. Big reason why Texas A&M was able to stay in that game last week was because they started quickly and they got a couple of touchdowns up on the board early on in that football game. So, yeah, for Alabama here, they're going to have to start much better defensively as well, in particular heading into this matchup. Bulldogs, one of the dark horse teams in the SEC without a doubt. I mean, this team could make it to a pretty good bowl game. They got plenty of talent here. Both losses for them are within 3 points each. So, I mean, that just shows you how close this Mississippi State team is to potentially being a 5-0 team right now. And it's also a home game for the Bulldogs in a night environment as well. So that certainly is a big advantage for this football team. But with that said, let's get to the prediction here for Alabama and Mississippi State. Not surprising, I'm going to go with Alabama here. 38-17 is my predicted final score. I just don't see Alabama losing or even really coming close to a loss in 2 straight weeks. Well, of course, they lost last week, but I just don't see this being a close game here. I think Alabama, this team is going to be ready to go this time around. I mean, there's no messing around anymore for Alabama. I mean, this is a football team that if you take another loss in the regular season, I mean, you're obviously out of the playoffs. So there's a lot on the line here for Alabama. I mean, obviously, we've seen them be such a big national contender the past few years. I mean, this is a big deal for them without a doubt. But probability, 90% towards Alabama once again. I mean, Mississippi State is a very talented football team, but I just don't see them pulling off a huge upset in this game, which, I mean, once again, I said earlier that the Bulldogs are definitely a talented football team that has got a lot of potential to make it to a good bowl game, but I mean, I just don't see them pulling the upset here in this matchup. Alabama 38, Mississippi State 17, and I'm taking the under in this matchup just barely. But if you're thinking about betting the over-under for this matchup, do be careful because I could easily see it go over. I mean, especially if Alabama puts up over 40 points, it should go over. So definitely keep that in mind. But that being said, I appreciate you guys all watching as always. Stay tuned for more from All Sports Central. I'll catch you on the next one.